a lot of other resources, obviously, on our website, sonomaedb.org. You can go there and find all the information, especially right now with COVID, any business assistance you may need, any financing, including information from SBA in terms of all the programs that are available, and other resources that are there for you. And SoCo Launch is such a great resource. So feel free and know that you can reach us here at sonomaedb.org. That's our website, and you can contact us to help you in your business, especially during these difficult times that we've been going through. And now I want to thank and welcome Miriam Suzunes with the SBA, the Small Business Administration. And we're so thankful and pleased and honored that you're here with us, Miriam. We really appreciate this. And I know that our business owners here in Sonoma County are just so thankful for your presentation. And I know that you're available also to any organizations, and you're looking to be able to make more presentations, not only about the restaurant revitalization program, but any other resources that come with SBA. So without further ado, welcome, Miriam. Take it away.
Thank you. I really appreciate being here with the Sonoma team. Please bear with me while I load my screen. Okay, how does that look?
It looks.
Okay. So I, as Marcos mentioned, am with the San Francisco District Office of the Small Business Administration. Today, I'm going to be presenting to you on our most recent COVID relief program, which was authorized under the American Rescue Plan Act, and it is called the Restaurant Revitalization Fund. So the first question is, who's eligible? Actually, this program expands beyond just traditional restaurants, with inclusion for caterers, food stands, bars, saloons, especially in the county that we're discussing, bakeries, brew pubs, wineries, institutions that may also have a wholesale component could also be eligible for this program, as long as they meet that 33% minimum threshold for on-site sales to the public.
Miriam, and sorry to interrupt you. I just want to make sure that one thing I did fail to mention is that mention this in Spanish for anybody that may be joining us in Spanish. Si alguien nos está, se está reuniendo con nosotros, bienvenidos, y necesitan interpretación al español, pueden dirigirse abajo de la pantalla en la mano derecha donde dice interpretación, y pueden oprimir ahí en la interpretación y elegir Spanish para español, y pueden entrar al canal de español con nuestro traductor Ricardo Ibarra. Les damos la bienvenida aquí a esta presentación del SBA con Miriam Suzunes. Muchísimas gracias, y estamos aquí para ayudarles cualquier cosa que necesiten. Somos sonomaedb.org. Muchas gracias. Adelante. Thank you, Miriam.
You got it. And thank you to our interpreters. Please let me know if I need to repeat anything, but this is the basic eligibility slide. If you have a question about particular eligibility for your business, at the end, I'll discuss where you can find resources and one-on-one business consulting, in addition to the website, which has an interactive and searchable frequently asked questions portal called a knowledge management base, in which you can search rather specific questions as to your business eligibility. Who is ineligible? Entities that are ineligible include state or local government operated businesses, businesses that are affiliated with more than 20 locations, regardless of whether those locations do business under the same or different names or are in different industries. Businesses that are also ineligible are businesses that have pending applications or have received funds from the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant. So I will discuss at another point in the slide deck also how this new federal program, which does act as a direct payment, interacts with other federal relief programs such as PPP and the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant. But most important here to note is that if you are a business that is both in the entertainment sector and the food sector, you need to make that decision on your own whether you would prefer to apply for the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant or the Restaurant Revitalization Fund, but you cannot apply to both. Businesses that are also ineligible are nonprofit organizations, publicly traded companies, and businesses that have permanently closed. Businesses that use their calculation, which we'll go into in a moment, and it shows that they're only eligible for $500, say, that also will make them ineligible for the program, as there is a minimum award of $1,000 that you need to be show that you are eligible for. Frequently asked question we received when this program first opened, which it did open on Monday, so we are concluding the first week of applications submitted to the Restaurant Revitalization Fund, is do I need a SAM.gov registration? Do I need a DUNS number or a cage identifier for my business in order to apply? And the answer is no. You do not need to register on the government contracting portal or have those identifying numbers in order to apply for the RRF. If you use an ITIN number, an individual taxpayer identification number, as opposed to a social security number, for example, you are eligible to apply for this program. The forms of organizations that are eligible, or the business types, include C corporations, S corporations, partnerships, LLCs, sole proprietors, self-employed individuals, independent contractors, tribal businesses, and LLCs or S corporations taxed as sole proprietors. If you are a franchise business, you may also be eligible, and you'll see on the online application, there will be an auto-populated directory in which you can search the exact franchise business that you own, and it will populate that information into your application portal online. If for some reason your brand, your franchise business is not listed in the directory, you will be able to email franchise@sba.gov to find out how you can populate that information. If you are experiencing bankruptcy, your business has declared bankruptcy, you may still be eligible if you are operating under an approved plan of reorganization. So that means bankruptcy under Chapter 11, 12, or 13 is eligible as long as you meet the other program requirements. Again, if you are permanently closed, you do not qualify. If you have closed during this time of COVID or for another emergency reason, you will be eligible. So temporary closures do not kick you out of eligibility, but permanent closure does. As I mentioned, there are some things to note as to how the RRF relates to other federal relief programs, including the Paycheck Protection Program. The best practice I would like to note here is if you have a pending PPP application, it's best to either get it withdrawn if you choose to apply for the RRF, or make sure that your bank has concluded that process before you apply to the Restaurant Revitalization Fund. This is because you're going to be asked to declare how much PPP money you have received at the point of time that you fill out your application, and that attestation is to be taken as truth. And if you get funded after the fact, then you are no longer holding to that attestation at that time of submission of your application. So if you have received PPP money prior to applying, that's totally fine. You're going to need to include that in your application. But what is important to note is that you don't plan to apply to PPP after you've applied to the RRF. This is another attestation you're going to be asked to make on the application. It is in the form of a checkbox to certify that you need this financial relief. The eligible uses of funds for this program is actually pretty broad, and you should be able to use it for most business expenses. As you can see here, utility, payroll, supplier costs. You will also be able to use it to pay back rent or mortgage payments or business debt. However, you are not allowed to use it for prepayment or of a principal or interest. So back owed debt, you will be able to use these funds on. Expansion costs to your business, you will not. So if you, for example, need to construct a parklet, an outdoor dining facility, that is okay. But please be advised, you cannot use these funds to open a new location or to expand your business beyond COVID-related tenant improvements and whatnot. When do I have to use the funds? You have a pretty good window for this program. The funds must be spent on expenses that were incurred between February 15th, 2020 and March 11th, 2023. So as I said, you can take care of payments within this window, starting from that February date and up until 2023. If the business permanently closes after receiving funds, the covered period will end when the business permanently closes or on March 11th, 2023, whichever occurs sooner. Any funds not spent on eligible expenses by the time the covered period ends must be returned to the government. So a best practice that I will get into is keep your receipts. You will be asked to report your use of funds, have a detailed expenditure report, and any types of documentation and certification on how your funds were spent to show that they were spent on eligible expenses. My recommendation is just, even if it's a supplier that is your nephew and it's an informal job, make sure you have some form of documentation to show that transaction with RRF funds. And hopefully the SBA will get some more specific guidance on exactly what that type of reporting is going to look like. Now we're going to get into the different calculation types that you will use depending on when your business has been in operation. And this will be the calculation that you use to come to a number that you request as part of your RRF direct payment. The first calculation is for applicants in operation prior to or on January 1st, 2019. This will be your 2019 gross receipts minus your 2020 gross receipts minus your PPP loan amounts. So that is the most straightforward calculation. The second calculation is for applicants that began operations partially through 2019. In this calculation, you will average your 2019 monthly gross receipts times 12 minus 2020 gross receipts minus PPP loan amounts. Again, if you have specific calculation questions, I encourage you to reference the knowledge database on the website. Calculation 3 is for applicants that began their business operations on or between January 1st, 2020 and March 10th, 2021, and applicants not yet opened but have incurred eligible expenses as of March 11th, 2021. So if you are a new business, you started in the height of the pandemic, or you haven't opened your doors yet, but you have incurred expenses that are eligible under this program, this calculation is for you. This is the government's attempt to make sure our new businesses and our soon-to-be businesses also get some relief. The calculation here is your total amount spent on eligible expenses between February 15th, 2020 and March 11th, 2021, minus 2020 and 2021 gross receipts, minus PPP loan amounts. Here is some details around what is in a gross receipts calculation, what do I include, what do I not include. You do not include any of the following in 2020 gross receipts. That includes PPP loan monies, first draw or second draw, any other direct assistance that you received from federal programming, including the economic injury disaster loan, the EIDL loan, the EIDL advance, and now what is called the targeted EIDL advance. So any monies received through grant funds via the CARES Act, any state and local business grants as well should be excluded from your 2020 gross receipts. How do I apply? The question of the hour. You can apply now. The portal is open. It's restaurants.sba.gov. You can also apply through what we call POS ecosystem partners. So if you are a business that works with a point of sale vendor such as Square or Toast, these two partners in particular will also be accepting applications through their own platform. And they have created POS reports that you will be able to easily upload, and those reports will be eligible in lieu of payroll documentation. So please note that there's two online options for submitting your application, the SBA portal directly and the point of sale partners such as Square and Toast. There's also other point of sale partners such as Aloha and Clover, which are working to support this program. They will not accept applications directly through their portal, but they have prepared tools that you can use if they are your POS vendor. Again, they will have reports that you can easily upload into the SBA system. There's a third option for those that need accessibility or prefer to do a telephonic application. There is a hotline at 844-279-8898. Please note that it is on Eastern Standard Time and will close, I believe, at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time during the work week. Telephonic applications may have longer processing times because they will have to send you a hard copy application as well and expect that to be returned to them. So please note that there are 3 options available, and the restaurants.sba.gov is the official SBA portal to submit your application. If you need information about the Restaurant Revitalization Fund, you can go to the SBA website, and there will be a link for the program there. That is not where you will submit your application. So please note that the informational website for the SBA is different than the actual portal to submit your application, which is listed here as restaurants.sba.gov. Now we'll get into some details about what types of documentation you want to have prepared before you sit down and submit your application. The application form itself, as I mentioned, is available as an online portal. So that's the form that you will complete online. You will be asked to initial and sign and complete this form digitally. You will also be asked to sign an IRS form 45 OC 06T, which is a verification of your tax information and allows SBA to verify that with the IRS. That will also auto-populate on the website. Gross receipts documentation. You will need to have on hand any of the following documents demonstrating gross receipts and, if applicable, eligible expenses, including your business tax returns, IRS Form 1120 or IRS Form 1120S, IRS Form 1040, Schedule C, IRS Form 1040, Schedule F. If you are a partnership, IRS Form 1065, including your K-1s, which are the shared income documents. You will need to have 3 bank statements. And we don't have specific guidance as to which 3 months of bank statements you should have ready to upload. So based on best practices, we are giving advice to have the last 3 months that you were open as a business, those bank statements, please have them prepared to upload as documentation. Externally or internally prepared financial statements, such as income statements or profit and loss statements, are also eligible documentation that you can submit. Point of sale reports, as I mentioned, are going to be a really straightforward way if you work with a POS vendor and you have a auto-generated report that can be easily uploaded into your RRF application. That will expedite things as it will require less in-person review. If you choose to use an internally prepared financial document, such as a profit and loss statement, what we recommend is that you have your tax advisor or your CPA create an additional document that you can upload to certify and attest to the information that you have prepared to show your expenses and gross receipts. And now we're going to look at the documentation that will be accepted per calculation type. So there will be a bit of repetition here, but this is the information you're going to need most importantly to apply to this program. So your 2019 gross receipts and tax return, 3 months of bank statements, 2020 gross receipts. If you don't have any tax documents prepared from 2020, preferred and accepted documents in lieu of that include if you have your federal tax return filing, again, a point of sale report is an eligible document in lieu of a tax report that you might not have yet. Other accepted documents include, as I mentioned, externally or internally prepared financial statements, such as a profit and loss statement or an income statement. Again, best practice here is if you are going to use that type of documentation, make sure you get a letter from your CPA that verifies that that is correct and legitimate information. For calculation 3, again, you have to fill out the application like everyone else. You have to sign the 4506T like everyone else, have 3 months of bank statements. And for at least one document for each year, 2020 and 2021, you're going to need a federal tax return filed or something that shows you prepared that file, 2020 point of sales reports, 2021 point of sales reports. These are all preferred documents, and you will need at least one for each year. The CPA comfort letter that's mentioned here on this slide is what I keep referring to as that supplemental document that you would want to request from your CPA or tax advisor that further attests to your internally prepared documentation showing your expenses for the years required. And this is a reminder, and again, relevant for the county that we're presenting to today. If you are a wholesale business, such as a brew pub, a tap room that might have a brewery or a winery that has a tasting room, if you are an inn that has on-site sales of food and beverage, this is an important slide for you to reference, because we are again naming that at least 33% of gross revenue, 33% of your sales must be on site in order to qualify. And here's an important clarification. On site does not necessarily mean on premise. So it doesn't mean that you must have seating open to the public in order to qualify. Takeout sales are included when we say on-site sales to the public. This is just to make sure that you have a public-facing part of your business and that you are not in an entirely wholesale entity in which you would not qualify for this program. And again, here is the hotline number. I will put my personal email as a representative of the district office of the SBA in the chat for you all. And I'll go over just a couple best practices and field any questions that may have arisen in the time that I've gone through all of this information for you. Again, make sure you have your documentation before you sit down and start filling out the application. Application corrections are not going to be an easy thing with this application. We really encourage you to try to do it right the first time. With that said, we want to make sure you're prepared and doing this efficiently, because we do not know when these funds are going to be expended. And as I mentioned, you don't want to jeopardize your application by not having enough documentation or something that is going to need a lot of in-person review because it's an informal document as opposed to a POS report or a tax document. Our SBA funded resource partners are also available to you if you need assistance. So the Small Business Development Center has a team working on answering questions for the Restaurant Revitalization Fund. I'm happy to send that information for NorCal SBDC if you all need it. And lastly, we are kind of a look at the timeline of this program. It opened Monday, and we are still within what is being called a priority period. So the first 21 days of the program will be for priority groups, which means if you are a small business that is at least 51% owned and managed by one or more individuals who identify as women, veterans, or socially and economically disadvantaged, you will be able to self-certify at the time of your application and during this 20-day window that you meet these eligibility requirements for a priority group. Again, you're not going to need external certification to prove this. If you identify as someone who comes from these demographic areas, it is a self-certification. If there are multiple owners and cumulatively they make up this threshold of identities that fit in this category of ownership, then you will qualify. So an example here is if an applicant has 5 owners who each own 20%, 2 owners are veterans, 1 owner is a socially and economically disadvantaged individual, SBA will consider this applicant to meet the requirement of at least 51% of the applicant owned by a priority group. And if you're wondering what exactly is socially and economically disadvantaged, this is the federal definition. Socially disadvantaged individuals are those who have been subjected to racial or ethnic prejudice or cultural bias because of their identity as a member of a group without regard to their individual qualities. Individuals who are members of the following groups are presumed to be socially disadvantaged, including Black Americans, Hispanic Americans, Native Americans, including Alaska Natives and Native Hawaiians, Asian Pacific Americans, or subcontinent Asian Americans. Economically disadvantaged individuals are those whose socially disadvantaged individuals whose ability to compete in the free enterprise system has been impaired due to diminished capital and credit opportunities as compared to others in the same business who are not socially disadvantaged. Again, these are self-certifications. If you feel like you identify in this category, if you are a minority that isn't accounted for on the census, but you feel like this is your experience, it is a self-certification. A best practice I would recommend is have another supplementary document that maybe explains why you fit in this category, references education or lack of access to funding that might attest to your certification as a priority group definition. You will not be able to reorganize your business ownership structure in order to fit this threshold of 51% ownership by a priority group applicant. So yeah, that would be considered fraudulent. So we don't encourage that. But again, if you feel like your majority demographic ownership fits this category, you can self-certify that. And here's a quick look at the funding set-asides for the program. Again, these are subject to change, and depending on the volume of applicants, we don't really know how long these funds are going to last. So if you believe you are eligible for this program, I encourage you to get prepared as soon as possible and apply as soon as possible. And with that, I will conclude my presentation.
Thank you, Miriam. One of the questions, and just so you can clarify, I know that there is this priority period for the first 21 days. However, does it mean that people that don't fit this priority cannot apply and have to wait for 21 days, or they should apply now?
That's a good question. You are able to submit your applications. You're also able to register. If you want to wait to submit your application, you can register on the SBA portal and kind of get your process going there. You will, as I said, be able to submit, but only applications that fit this priority area will be considered and moved forward within the first 21 days.
Yes, I just want to make sure that people knew that they should apply now, even though their application may not be processed until after 21 days, if you don't fit this priority group. I know that was a question that some people had, but definitely if you are in the priority group, it's so important for you to apply now so that you have that access, because obviously it has been shown that in previous programs, whether it was PPP or other programs, there were some disparities there. And I think that the SBA is doing a great job here of really giving access, especially to those really small businesses, right? Where you see that even if you're a business that maybe just does sales on the weekends and you only are at $50,000 a year, it's really catering to also small, really small businesses, so that people don't get discouraged and think that they will not get this help, this grant. Now, one other thing, Miriam, another question was that how long after I submit my application will I get a response? What's the processing time on the SBA side?
Sure. Our administrator, Isabel Guzman, just released a press statement, I believe day before last, that claimed the SBA is going to try to move applications forward within 14 days. So that information, that timeline is subject to change, but that is what we are trying to do.
Great. Thank you. No, and it goes to show that definitely they're doing all they can to process them. That's a really fast turnaround time. And of course, as a business owner, it's so important that you have all the documents, you have all your ducks in a row, as we say sometimes, right? Cross, I don't know that other one, cross the T's and the I's and all that, but make sure you're checking that everything is correct, that everything, and specifically one of the things that I know that has been an issue in other programs or other funding is that sometimes a business may have a certain name on their tax returns, but in their business license or any other might be a different name. And then there might be just making sure that or address or that everything is congruent or everything is the same in terms of everything that you are presenting to the SBA. That way there's no discrepancies and no tie-ups in your application. Would you agree with that, Miriam?
Yeah, and you actually reminded me of another best practice I wanted to share. However you submitted your PPP application, that's the information you should use to submit your RRF application. So whichever EIN you used, whichever bank account you used, to try to keep that consistent as possible is going to ensure there's not verification issues or wrongful attestations of funds that you may have received to that business. And the website, the SBA is, they learned from some of the issues experienced with the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant. I think this online portal is trying to assist in reducing human error. So there's going to be, when you enter your bank account information, it's actually something that can auto-populate for you and allow you to sign into your bank account, your online banking, and ensure that that account information is consistent. So the SBA is partnering with a platform called Plaid, which many banks use. And again, when it asks for your account information or to verify your PPP amount, wherever it asks for data related to your business account, you will be able to choose your bank from a auto-populated pop-up box and sign in directly to your online banking portal, and it will confirm, verify, and auto-populate information for you to ensure that there's no human error there. So I encourage people not to get scared when they see that. It is to help you.
Yes, thank you. And just for everybody that's here on the listening to this or on Zoom, Alina, my colleague, is putting all the information, all the different links into the chat, and so you can go in there and see that. One other thing that you mentioned, it's key because I know that this platform has been very user-friendly. I recently spoke to a business owner that applied for this RRF grant, and he told me how since he received PPP in the past, everything just automatically went on there. I mean, it just kind of subtracted the amounts that he had received from PPP to how much the projection was going to be that he would possibly receive for this grant. So it was very user friendly for him. So that's something that definitely is something good. Obviously, doesn't mean that you should not make sure that you're inputting everything correctly, but it does help you, and it auto populates a lot of the information for you.
Right, exactly. Don't be scared to use those auto populating features. They are to help with consistency and verification of your business. So again, if you submitted your PPP with a certain EIN and bank account for your business, make sure it's consistent here.
Great. And Miriam, one other question. So once I submit my application, what should I expect? Am I getting an email? What is that process? Do you know, in terms of like the response, to make sure that, for instance, how do I know as a business owner that my application is complete? How do I get that? Okay, you're good. we're just wait for us and we'll contact you back or something.
Sure. So as you mentioned, the application portal is pretty user-friendly. You'll actually even be able to manage multiple applications from one registration or sign-in of an account. So if you have multiple businesses that are unaffiliated and you want to apply on distinct applications, you'll be able to see and manage and view the status of each of your applications. So it's very visible which stage you're on for your application from your management portal.
I see. And I don't know if you may not know this. I'm sure obviously there's a lot of people applying within, I would imagine, the first couple of days. But in terms of the phone number, because I thought that this was a it was really good. I mean, what SBA is really making an effort to really give a lot of support to applicants and the phone number, because how I know that it was mentioned that they would even be willing to take applications over the phone for any businesses that would probably, maybe they didn't have access to broadband, maybe in remote areas, or had issues. How is that? Do you know how that the phone line is working, or how well it's working in terms of maybe a wait times or anything like that, or maybe a certain best times to call in?
Sure. So I encourage businesses to apply online first and foremost. If you don't have access in your home or your work, I would encourage you to go to a public library or a facility that has that internet access, and bring your documentation, come prepared to apply from there, or one of your POS partners that you may work with, like Square, Toast. The phone hotline, we've been receiving mixed messages on in terms of their level of proficiency in being able to answer specific questions. They may just end up referring you back to the website or one of our resource partners. So if you're a business that needs a bit more hand-holding to make sure you're prepared to submit, I encourage you to reach out to NorCal SBDC, Small Business Development Center. SBA resource partners are funded for this reason. They are funded to support one-on-one businesses, one-on-one business support, and technical and business support. So that's my recommendation if you really need some more hand-holding. There is a sample application online. It's translated as well. So if you want to view it before you fill it out, I suggest doing that. There's a program guide that walks you through it as well, available online. There's application tutorials on YouTube that are available on the website as well. If you really need to do a telephonic application, you call that number and you request it, and they will explain the procedures from there. However, the wait time is likely going to be longer for you, since it will require a hard copy to be sent and also filled out.
Thank you for that, Miriam. I know that usually is a question. And then I just want to let everybody know also that we also locally here in Sonoma County, we do have the Napa Sonoma SBDC, who is also part of the SBA, just like NorCal SBDC. So, and you can easily go to Napa Sonoma SBDC as Small Business Development Center.org, Napa Sonoma SBDC.org, and register online with them. And then they'll connect you with a consultant that can help you and assist you in the process of applying for this grant as well. And you can also contact us here at Sonoma EDB, and we can help you. We can reach out and make sure that you are getting the information. Now, quick question for you. Now, will this presentation, will this be available, this PowerPoint presentation for people that have registered, or people to be sent out via email to them?
Sure, I'm happy to share the PowerPoint for dissemination. But please, please note that for most up-to-date information, we ask that you view from the website. The
Yes.
PowerPoints are static documents subject to change. The most up-to-date information will be available on the SBA website. I think it's /restaurants specifically.
Yes, and also I know that even for the information on the website is also in Spanish, the same sba.gov/restaurantes. So that the only change is restaurants versus restaurantes. But yes, a lot of great information. Make sure that you are out there, that you make sure that you apply and go to the SBA website to most up to date. Yes, and thank you so much, Miriam. Let me see, I'm looking here to see if you have any questions. If anybody has any questions, feel free to put them in here in the Q&A, and we'd be gladly to ask Miriam here in terms of those questions. If not, you can always just email us directly and go to our website there, and we can help you out as well. So anything else, Miriam, that you would like to say to restaurants in terms of this grant? For the people that are tuning in, I know that we are live on Facebook and here on Zoom, and then this presentation will be sent out and shared with people once because it's being recorded.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I think we covered a lot of information. So again, there's a searchable knowledge database on the website if you have specific questions that weren't answered here. And yeah, I encourage you to be in touch with your local government, like this forum, to get up-to-date information.
Definitely, and there's our email, edb@sonoma-county.org. You can reach us if you have any other questions regarding this or anything else to help you with your business. We're here to help you, and we appreciate you being here with us today. I want to thank Miriam for being with us with the SBA here. I mean, because it's a big deal. It's a big deal. You guys are a big deal, SBA, and here in San Francisco, covering 14 counties. And it's just great that you're here with us. And we really want to thank you being with us for Economic Development Week, Sonoma County 2021. We want to support our small businesses. So, we're looking forward to continue to partner with you and do more presentations. I know you mentioned that you're out here and then you're willing to go and present in other organizations and other venues.
Of course, yes. I know Sonoma County is very familiar with economic recovery, and you all stand together so strongly. So if there's trade groups, industry organizations, business circles that would also like this presentation, please feel free to reach out, and I'll put my email in the chat.
Great. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I want to thank the whole team, also in Ricardo Ibarra, also for being our interpreter, Alina Decker in the back, Brad Johnson, Samantha, everybody that's been doing this. And thank you, everyone. Sonoma County Economic Development Week. Thank you to the SBA. Have a wonderful weekend. And don't forget that we are Sonoma Strong, and we're here to help you anything you need. Everybody have a great day and take care.